Hey folks, we continue our trip to the SSI world, and today we will talk how the SSI could unlock our data and what's the open data and unlocking of the data mean and how SSI could help us. But first, subscribe to our channels, leave the comments, share your experience, what you do with the SSI, what you do with the verifiable credentials, or if you have any questions, just ask them, we will be happy to answer. So, the data is everywhere. The data about you is everywhere around you, but the problem is that quite often it's not the data that belongs to you. So what I mean, for example, this video on YouTube that you're watching, if YouTube will decide to block my account, I will lose all my audience, I will lose the video, and all the data around this video will be gone. For example, if I have the my music list somewhere on the Spotify, I could not take this list, go to some other platform and ask them for their recommendation, because this data simply is not my data, and I need to find a tricky way to extract this data somehow myself and ask them to do something. Or you are the crazy gamer, you're really keen to play some game, you have the highest score, you build a huge community in a game, but if the game server will shut it down, you lose all this. You will lose practically all your gaming life there, and you will never prove that you was the best gamer of whatever the I don't know. So all these problems occur from the concept that this data around your identity is not belonging to you, and how the SSI could help. First of all, let's try to understand. I already have a video for my Ukrainian audience, but let's try to understand what the SSI mean. So the self-sovereign identity, first off, and the key thing is the identity of the person that exists in the real world. So the first principle of SSI is just existence, that we're not creating something that do not exist in the real world. The sovereign came with the really simple concept and real simple ideas, that first of all, you have access to your data, and yeah, for sure, the users have the access to their data as far as they're not blocked on the platform. And for example, if I go to the Amazon, I see the list of all my orders, yeah, for sure. So in even in a classical platform, I have the access to my data. But the next thing is the control of your data. And with control of your data, we have some problems, and these problems are quite big, because not so often you have the control on the data. You could not just wipe out your order that you don't like, or do something with data, because this data simply belongs not to you, but belongs to some other company. And you see that already with these principles we have some problems with the classical systems. The next one is quite crucial, is the transparency. So transparency mean that all the algorithms and technologies behind of the storing and processing, encryption and so on of this data is open. So we understand how they get processed, we understand everything that happens with this data, and it's crucial. And here the blockchain is a good example, that you know how it works, you know all the algorithm, but you could not somehow change the data or do some fraud activities on top of it. The next thing is super simple, is the persistence. So it's your data should be long living, you should have the access to your data in any period of time. And here practically everything in a classical systems have some problems, because as far as server alive, everything is good. As far as your account is not blocked, everything is good. But if something goes wrong there, you just lose your data. And it could happen with the SSI, but here it's the main reason why we're talking about the decentralized world all the time, because if you have decentralized system, you not depends on one single authority. If you have the distributed system, you have the replication of your data everywhere, and it's not my home PC or my phone that store all this data on edge that could just disappear. So it's the a huge design challenge for the developers, and it's a huge topic itself for SSI, the persistent in decentralized and distributed way. The portability. The portability is yet another thing that your identity and your data should be portable. You should be able to exchange it, give another system to actually work with it, and it's quite a big topic. And you know, if you could imagine, if you need to agree something with 3 or 4 people, you already know the problem, that it's tons of the different standards and standardizations, and some specifications here help us here. But still, if you want to make, for example, our playlist portable, we need to have some kind of standards, how we describe songs, how we describe our preferences, and so on. And yeah, this is a huge topic, but it's not only for SSI, it's practically for every platform that we create. And the next principle actually is the consent, and it's somehow connected to the concept of control of your data. But if somebody wants to use your data, you should be aware and you should allow them to, or give the permission to use your data. So without your consent, nothing happens with your data. By the way, sometimes it's a huge obstacle for SSI, because it's make the interaction more complex from the technical point of view, but we're still working on some specifications that allow us to simplify this. And the last 2 things is the minimization. So you should have the ability to share the small portion of your data, that enough to satisfy the request from verifier or from external system, that you not expose everything, you expose only the small part. And the crucial thing of SSI actually is the protection. So you should be protected from the big players that decide to maybe play unfair or do something without your consent. So we don't have the big bosses, big platforms that just decide to throw away your data or block your access to the data. So as you see, all these principles is quite simple. And it's around the simple idea that your data is yours, you control them, you do whatever you want with them, they go together with you. And this examples about the games, about the shopping list, maybe even about your banking transactions. So everything connected to you, live with you, you control the access to it. And it's all about the SSI. And if you're talking about the unlocking, it's actually solves this problem, that instead of storing the data in some database that nobody have the access, you store it in your personal wallet or personal space, and give other people possibility to interact with this data. Yeah, for sure, it's bring the questions of the security and the access, and it's bring the question of building the new protocols and the new systems that actually will allow you to do this. For example, we could combine the ceramic that actually distributed storage, a quite interesting one that work with the DADs, and the lead protocol that build the permission layer in Web3 and quite distributed way, and you have this distributed storage. Or for example, it's the idea of the guys who build the Web5 around the distributed web nodes. So this combination of messaging and personal storage on top of the IPFS, that you own all your data and you communicate with the messages, and you could have the DAD based identity to solve this problem. But the main idea that you have your storage, in our case for the Affinity SDK, you have your wallet, all the data is available in an interoperable transparent format that actually allow you to be portable. So if you have the verifiable credential, the other people who understand what the Web3C credentials mean, could interact it. You have the schema of the data. It means that this data is understandable to the systems, it's understandable to the people. They could take some decisions on top of it. You have the full control on your wallet. We have some exchange protocols. How the people could request the data from your wallet, how the people could offer you some credentials and so on. So we solve it with the open standards, open protocols, with the specifications of the data, and we make this data unlocked because it belongs to you. We make this data open because you could freely grab all this data and share it, and you own it. And that's the main idea why we're talking about unlocking the data with the SSI, because we unlocking the data with the SSI principles and give this data back to you. So that's it. That's main reason why we are doing it, because we believe in a better democratized world where people exchange the data freely and get some benefits on top of this, and able to build the next generations of the protocol that will make the some benefits from this active exchange. So that's it that I was keen to share with you. Try our platform, try our SDK, try our cloud solution like the cloud wallet. Give some feedback to us. We will be happy to hear more from you. So have a nice day.